I'm Michael, and welcome to Beyond the Screenplay, the podcast where each episode we do a conversational deep dive analysis into a movie, or occasionally a volume of television. Today we're talking about Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 2, created by the Duffer Brothers. I'm joined by the Beyond the Screenplay team, Trisha Arand.
Hello, everyone.
Brian Bittner.
Hello, hello.
And Alex Calleros.
Hi.
All right, so we have Volume 2. There's only one volume left, and I'm going to start by ranting a little bit because the discourse, the media discourse online is so stupid right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's not, like a hot take, right? Oh, my God, the, discourse online is dumb. But it's been weird these last couple, weeks. Whenever I go online and I'm, in my media, my bubble, and I'm seeing people talk about all kinds of movie things, it's like no one's happy with anything. Everyone hates something about something. It's either we hate Pluribus, or the Odyssey. Oh my God, the costume looks so fake. Or thirst posts about the new Avatar lady, and they're upset at how much they're are crushing on the Avatar lady, and then hating on Stranger Things. That's all I've seen in my bubble anyway. And that's a pretty wide range of content, from slow, methodical, original Pluribus with smart writing and amazing acting, all the way through a Christopher Nolan, through an Avatar to a Stranger Things. Why can we not have nice things? So it's been very weird seeing people's reactions to everything. And I get it, 2025 has been an exhausting year, and if we just need to be cynical and upset, I can get that. But I feel like it's a little unfair because I think Stranger Things Season 5 is doing something pretty impressive. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm still having a lot of fun with it. And I think a lot of the things that are working for me and pushing it into the realm of very enjoyable are a lot of the things that people are critiquing, like performances. I don't think everyone's performance is amazing, but I think a lot of the kids came to play, and a lot of the emotional scenes that happen, with Dustin and Steve, or even Nancy and Jonathan in that last episode, there are some really great heartfelt performances. I think people are by and large wanting to leave it all out on the field. Nothing about it feels lazy to me. It feels like they're really trying to be generous and deliver stuff. Again, not to say it's perfect. A lot of the time I'm watching it and I'm like, this is dumb. What they're talking about, this is a dumb plan. This is all dumb. But then it all pays off and comes together with something that is really meaningful and emotional, and is the thing that I watch Stranger Things for. So I'm just exhausted. Don't go online. We all know that, but I made the mistake of doing it. But all that to say, I'm still really having fun with Stranger Things. I think it's interesting how much they're trying to explain, and we have, the Upside Down is really a wormhole to the abyss, which is the yellow. So we go to the yellow place, and that's fine. So I do want to talk about ending a series and how you kind of get railroaded into delivering on the fan service, and the pros and cons of how they're doing these things. A lot of it's bumpy, but I feel the heart of it, the Will Byers of it all, the friendships of it all of that's working for me. So anyway, that's my starting rant.
Can I just second your rant in general?
Please,
even
go for it.
Stranger Things aside, I think part of what is making me so enraged at the discourse nowadays is how stupid it is. It's the things that are being hotly debated are they're so devoid of any sort of context or thoughtfulness, or a larger picture of what do we want from our media. There's just a hyperfixation on somebody snapped a still frame in the IMAX theater of one shot from the Odyssey teaser, and now everybody's debating if that helmet looks 3D printed or not. And it's not even about the movie anymore. It's about an object that was put into the whirlwind of social media and now has become why are we all talking about this? I'm so tired. And so I think it's pushing me to not want to be in social media anymore. I think we've all been feeling exhausted by social media in general. But it seems like in the film bubble that we all are algorithmically in, the discourse, which maybe was once more interesting to me, has gotten increasingly hyper fixated on like these things that are controversial for like dumb reasons, and once again the algorithmic virality of them just leads to like dumber and dumber conversations, and so I'm just tired of it all. So I agree.
Yeah,
basically
stupid minutia gotchas, which are
exactly
dumbing down everybody.
I also like when people just freely admit in the comments that they just need to be told their opinion, where they're like, oh wait, that movie was good. I thought like it was decided universally. It's like woke garbage or whatever. It's just like please tell me, like, I thought we all collectively decided on an opinion. There's a new one now. What do I do? How could I possibly? I've never seen that movie or played that game or whatever, but like, I thought that I understood that this was our universal opinion, hive mind, and I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Trisha.
Yes. There are a couple of things at play here, and I'll just quickly touch on them before we get down into the meat of the episodes. But one of them is that media literacy is lacking. But also nuance in media discourse is lacking.
Right.
And so what we have is a combination of people who are both not able to analyze with the context that you're describing, Alex, but then also those who are able to do that are not being, able to express this sort of broader, more thoughtful, like what you're talking about is like a longer analytical, sort of way of approaching modern media, and social media is not designed to do that. And so even if you have the ability to tweet more than a hot take, you're not able to really do that, right? And so both of these things are kind of hand in hand here. Setting that aside, and I agree that it is problematic, I will say that there's also, as you're touching on there, Michael, a meta conversation, or just like almost like, this parasocial thing that's happening between the Duffer brothers in this case and Netflix with fans. And so like there's a lot built in here, where I was reading an article today about how the Duffers changed their plan for the ending of this after season 4 came out. So they had written essentially season 4 and season 5, or planned and outlined it at the same time. But then social media and audience reactions to season 4 caused them to rethink their approach to season 5. And so we know that there's very much this, I want to say symbiotic, but what I really mean is like cyclical discourse happening between creators and audiences and fans that is affecting not just how we consume it, but how it's being created. Mm-hmm. And so you can feel in the text of these episodes that they know they're being watched. They know who is watching it. They know what people that are watching it are thinking in the very, like, you can feel it bleeding off of the screen at you as you watch it, where you know how you're supposed to be reacting to stuff that's being created, because it's being created with you in mind in a way that is unfortunately very transparent. And so like, and I'm not blaming the Duffers in particular for that. That I think is part of just the water that we're swimming in terms of like being a TV show in 2025, is that you don't get to create it in a vacuum. You don't, even before we had social media, there were audience reactions were a real thing. And like how many people tuned in to the finale of Lost is like, this has always been a part of the creative decision making when it comes to TV. So I'm not saying that it's new, but this particular brand of media discourse that's directly affecting what's actually being created, it feels so of the moment and is so in the zeitgeist right now, and is definitely a part of the conversation we have to have when it comes to breaking down this actual chunk of 3 episodes of Stranger Things.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I glad that we were able to go on this journey and like put all that out there at the top, because I do feel like it is part of, like you're saying, what this thing is and the cultural moment. And as we've been saying, the algorithms don't want nuanced, deep dive thinking. They just want people to react emotionally quickly, and I hate that. And that's the end of my emotional reaction to that. Why don't we quickly say though, like the content of the episodes? How are we feeling? Alex, how are you feeling about Volume 2?
It's so hard because I also feel like I've been polluted by the social media environment before I had a chance to watch all the episodes. I was, getting the absorption of the kind of negativity. So I don't know if my mind was polluted or if I did just genuinely feel a little bit less excited by these episodes. I think the first chunk left me on this high note. I was like, hell yes, I cannot wait for what's next. These episodes, I think they had some very nice emotional moments. I think the one with I was going to say Natalia, Nancy and Jonathan, Nancy and Jonathan in the melty room was a standout for me. That felt like a really great. That's what I want from a final season of TV, where these two characters who have been kind of in this weird place for a while finally face the truth, finally kind of come clean with each other. Really beautifully done. And I think the show is doing a lot of those in this final season, and not all of them land in such an organic way. I feel like there's kind of this pattern I'm feeling where it's like, all right, it's time for us to do a new plan. These two people are paired together to do some business for the plan. And now here is the scene where they talk, and like an emotional scene will happen, or where they kind of work something out. And there's almost like, it's almost starting to feel rote to me at this point in the season, where we kind of just have these Stranger Things templates for scenes that are kind of just playing out again and again. And while I was excited to return to that in the first chunk, I'm kind of getting tired of it now, and I'm kind of ready for it to be over. So I don't know, there's an exhilaration that I was feeling in the first chunk that has kind of petered off in this chunk. And I am looking forward to the finale. I think they did set up a really nice conflict with 11 and the choice she needs to make. But in general, the momentum has kind of stalled for me. And once again, I don't know if that's partially the pollution of the social media stuff I soaked in, or if it really is something different about these episodes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think like the idea of a Stranger Things template, I think, is very true. And I think I was feeling that in the first chunk pretty hard of like, we're doing the Stranger Things things. But I had also just rewatched it recently. So I think that could also be playing into the larger conversation too of when was the last time the internet at large watched Stranger Things? Like where is everyone coming from? What's the expectations, and how used to this kind of specific mode of storytelling are you? But I think I definitely take the point that it's a little bit doing the same thing, and this volume did feel a little bit like we gotta explain things and move pieces on the board to like set up the finale. But I still had fun. But I get it. Brian, what are your thoughts?
Well, as someone who has been traveling for the holidays and been very busy for the past week, I have seen literally no online discourse because I have not had time to do any of that. And I'm pretty much aligned with Alex there, where it's just like, I don't not enjoy watching Stranger Things, but also at the end of our volume 1 episode, I was kind of going like, is there 2 or 3 in volume 2? 3 episodes? Okay. Like 3 is good. 3 feels like meaty. And now having seen them, I'm like, that felt like an episode and change in terms of like the meat that I wanted from this lead up to the big finale. I just, if volume 1 was when you haven't seen a friend for multiple years and you get together and you're like, oh man, I love this guy. To me, this felt like when a band you like hasn't had like a great album in like a couple albums, but like they're still putting out solid music. It's good. There's nothing wrong with it, but you're also kind of going like, I don't know if there's anything here I'm going to be like super excited about. Was kind of how this volume felt to me. One of my notes was no one can kiss or die. Because I think that was the thing I felt. It's like, I don't need Stranger Things craziness happening all the time to feel like this we've been talking about this since White Lotus, Last of Us. Things happening doesn't just mean car chases, right? Like the Jonathan and Nancy scene, it was like something happened. Steve Dustin kind of resolution of their issue, like felt like something happened, and they really went like far with it, and I love that kind of stuff. But then meanwhile, like people who haven't seen each other in I don't know how long meet and like look at each other and then kind of awkwardly hug, and I'm like, you guys are like in a relationship, right? Like I feel like things should be. It just felt like everything was kind of in this narrow place where we couldn't get too emotional or kissy or something, and we also couldn't get too dark. I don't want to talk too much about what we're expecting later yet, but part of me is like wondering if Callie is just like a red shirt to be like, let's reintroduce a character from a while ago so that they can die so that nobody else has to die, so that we can save everybody, because we don't want to be we were talking about one like, oh man, people are going to start, and now I'm like, I don't know, people aren't even kissing each other. I don't know if they're going to like do anything other than be like, Vecna is gone, end of Stranger Things, have a nice day, right? And I wanted to feel that urgency. I wanted to feel like things were really popping off in this volume, and I did not end it with any of that feeling that I wanted.
I think part of the feeling of kind of things going flat for this volume was we ended the last volume such a high with Will getting those powers. That felt like
here we go, baby.
That was an acceleration into like, the game has changed. And then pretty quickly they kind of walked that back and really limit that power. And that felt like a mistake to me.
Yeah. Yep. That leads me to my thoughts, which are just, I counted at least 3 walkbacks where like things had materially changed and then they unchanged them. Like Holly was out of there. She was out of there. She was ruined the plan. Nope, here she is stuck to her tree again with the thing in her mouth. Like they just put her right back there. And like, yeah, I guess some people saw her fall through the wormhole kind of thing, but like they just put her right back where she was, back into that dumb house with those other dumb kids. And like, I mean, she's just back where she was. Same thing with Karen. Like they get Karen up out of her, coma or whatever, and she like saves them in the Raptors in the Kitchen Demodog scene, which I like that reference. I was like, yeah. It's about time we got some Jurassic Park in here, but like,
yep.
And then they're just like, no, Karen, you should sit this out. No redemption for you. This is your little moment of redemption, but you're done here, I guess. And they just put her back in the hospital, like, go lie down. But the big one, of course, is Will. Like, that's exactly what you were talking about. It was like, Will is so empowered. Will is so strong. He believes in himself now. He is unstoppable. No, Will feels sad again. Like, and when he's having that scene of like, Mom, I thought I could beat him, but I was why would I think that? He's so much stronger than me. And I was like, shut up. Like, we did this.
We just had the empowerment moment.
You can't walk it back now. Like, it just is so annoying. Because it's narratively frustrating. It's what it feels like is, again, characters dramatically changing their motivation or where they've been, right? This is a character arc. The points are plottable. You can't go backwards. It's like a connect the dots puzzle. Like you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You can't go back to 2. It doesn't work that way. And we feel narratively cheated as audience members when we sense that happening. And so that was like, I don't know what it's all like supposed to be for in the finale. I think the Duffer Brothers are very talented writers. I think that they will deliver something that's really moving to those of us that care about these characters, which I really do. But I am troubled by the lack of substance in some of these scenes now and in some of these narrative choices. I will say the sequences, some of them were really inventive. The melting room I really liked. It stressed me out. I was sitting there like, oh, this room is melting. I've never seen anything exactly like it. I've never seen anything like it. And it does a really effective job at trapping these two characters together and making them say their stuff. And that's what you want. That's what drama is for. That's what the dramatic engine can do and can create, is force the truth to the surface. And the stuff with Dustin and Steve, I like. I'm worried now that either they're both toast or neither or something like that. Like, if you die, I die stuff. I'm like, okay. Someone's going to die, but actually maybe not. I don't know. It's going to come back later. I'm sure of that. But yeah, I just I'm sort of with you guys that, we had talked in the last episode about like the stakes should actually start to feel like they're ratcheting up, right? In terms of story real estate, as you come to the finale, the action should funnel down. And so they're making their plan in that room, and there's 15 characters in that room. Mr. Clark's in there. I don't know why. Vicky's here.
Right,
okay.
We added characters.
We added characters.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, I like those characters. It's fine, but like they don't belong here. It needs to funnel down. And it should be doing that already. And it feels like it isn't. And I don't necessarily need them to die, but I need people to step back. They need to be carved away so that we can get to the heart of something thematically sound. And right now, for my money, that is Will, and it's 11. And Mike, Nancy, they're here, but like it's gotta come down. Steve, Dustin, they're here, but it's gotta come down to like those 6 people I just named, basically. And if it isn't, then it's just going to feel scattered and messy. I really think so. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much to talk about, and I want to I'm fascinated by how do you end a thing like this with the Game of Thrones, with the Marvel, the MCU, Avengers of it all. And I think there is this kind of impossible thing that you have to try to balance. Like you're saying, Trisha, a story wants to funnel down and strip away the parts that it doesn't need, but there are challenges that come to that. So I want to dive into that. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about. But first, Trisha, you have a little announcement that you want to share with us.
Announcement's a big word here. You guys have very graciously allowed me to remind our listeners that I also do this for my own little side job. I have a coverage and consulting business. It's the end of the year, so work is always slow. So this is when I remind everybody that I do this also for you and for your scripts. And so if you are a writer, I love to read screenplays. I write coverage and I do consulting for projects at any stage of development and for writers in all seasons of their careers. I've done it professionally. I like to do it for people one-on-one because I like to focus on each writer's goal for their project. So this is the place where I plug my little side hustle. If you are interested in talking about your script and your goals with me, you can find me at Trisha Arand. That's my whole name. TrishaArand.com. So you can look me up there. All of my rates and policies are there, and you can just reach out to me and talk to me about your project because I like talking about Stranger Things, but I'm also interested in what you are working on, listener.
Yes.
Oh, and I have a Patreon discount, by the way. So if you support us on Patreon, you also get a discount on my services, too, for your script.
Whenever Trisha shouts out her consulting business, I always remind people that how many episodes have we had in this podcast where Trisha has fixed a movie live? A movie that could have been so much better had Trisha consulted on it. So
thank you, Alex.
Be that person as
so
you're consulting
kind.
your movie.
And like she said, there's a discount if you're a Patreon member. So this is also a great reason to support us on Patreon if you haven't. It's a win-win-win for everybody. It would be a wonderful end-of-year gift for all of us.
Aw.
Yes. Okay. So ending a thing. So I really like, Trisha, that you called out this focusing down aspect because I think that's what I want and expect also. And that's why I wasn't that upset when they sent Karen back to her hospital bed because I was like, Karen, you didn't even need to get up in the first place. Like, we should really be putting.
She had her moment and it was great. And I feel like there's
Yeah.
something about these repeat moments that is feeling awkward. Like
Right.
she already had the badass moment, and this feels almost sad. Like it's a little try hard. I don't know.
Thanks for saving us, Grandma. Now let's get you to bed.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the hard things that we're like, you want every character to have their final moment. And now we want these side characters, right? Vicky to have like her moment. Like, and that's all cool. That's fun. And that's part of the Stranger Things thing. But it also distracts from the main point, like you're saying, Trisha. And this is one of the things that I was thinking about in Endgame. So Avengers Endgame, mild spoilers. Endgame, I think, does something kind of smart, which is that it turns Infinity War, I guess, turns everybody to dust that wasn't the original cast. And so Endgame can just be about the main core people that we started with. And then it uses time travel to get back to the fun parts of things, because that's also what's hard as you're getting down to the ends of stories. The ends of stories often aren't that much fun. It's the sacrifice, it's the struggle, it's the like people dying and getting picked off while you barely like win. And that's not necessarily what people tune into Stranger Things for on any given episode. And so time travel was sort of the way Avengers got around that. I was very worried, I'm curious if you guys were too, that they were going to do time travel in the season.
I kind of thought so.
There were
like, lots of hints.
Yeah. Flux capacitor, A Wrinkle in Time, which I don't know the story of, but it has time in the title.
But you know the title, yeah.
So anyway, all this to say, I think this is one of the things that's really interesting to look at is I want the focus that you're calling out, Trisha, on like the core characters, the core themes, but also we have like 17 people along for the ride and everyone needs a moment and people are going to be upset if they don't get their moment. And so I'm curious to how you guys are feeling, how they're handling that, and what you, I don't know, what you want the focus to be on, or what you wish the focus had been on for this volume. Brian.
Well, I'll just say quickly, I don't have many thoughts in this, but I'll say quickly that like I do love, as I've said many times, a good everything's going to stop and these two characters are going to talk for 5 minutes moment in a movie. And like where 13-year-old me was like going to the bathroom at that point, like adult me is like, oh, cool, the action has stopped so I can like pay attention to what is actually happening here with these characters and this theme or whatever. It felt too much for me in this volume, I think was the problem, was like, oh, now we're going to have a long conversation about this and like this thing is going to go on and da-da-da. And meanwhile, hey, look, some Stranger Things stuff, but like now these two characters get, but at the same time, it's Dustin and Steve, it's Jonathan. It's not like Karen and Vicky are having a heart to heart about whatever, you know what I mean? Like, so I will say that I feel when I sort of snapshot back in my mind the big moments from the season, they all are the original Avengers, right? Like they all are Max and Lucas and like everybody who I care about. And that makes it less of an issue for me that there's also like 17 other people running around doing stuff, like building things in the background. And I think I agree. I wish that weren't the case. I wish it was a lot more funneled down and it was, you know, the original cast just got stuck in the here and they're all on their own for the entirety of like a whole like a bottle episode where it's just the original 5 kids, or maybe the original 5 kids plus Max. And we're really just spending time with them. But at the same time, I do feel like they know who to focus on, such that the other people feel like extras in a way that they shouldn't, but also it works for me enough.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that one example of a stop and talk scene that didn't feel like I needed at all was Holly and Max, because I feel like this season's really trying to say like Holly is like one of the kids now. Like she has been elevated to like original cast status almost. And like, did anybody want that? Was anybody desperately wanting like a Holly focused final season of Stranger Things? And I think it's worked.
Hey, I absolutely remembered that she existed.
Yeah, right. I think it works to use her as like the new Will in the first block of episodes, the new young kid who's taken, who's missing, who's driving the action. But I do feel like in this volume, especially, just kind of trying to make her have an equally emotional climactic moment with Max was one of those template scenes that felt forced to me, where and I think there's something about it's like those are the scenes where, because there hasn't been a whole series of buildup to a kind of a natural moment. I think the moment that we all loved from the last volume, where Will comes into his own and assumes his power, nothing was really spoken except for kind of the memory of like the speech he was given earlier about, I'm not sure what was said in that speech, but whatever, the things he needed to hear to kind of believe in himself and come into his power. And there's something like beautiful when it all clicks together that way. It's all been built for so many years, and then it just happens. And it feels like a lot of these scenes aren't that. They are more of, we are now telling you, very on the nose audience, like, you are Holly the Brave, like, this is the thing. And it's not that culmination of, that's naturally emerging from all the buildup of all these years of storytelling. And so just calling that out as like, that doesn't work for me. What does work are those scenes, like in the previous volume, where things happen at the right time, and it's like the inevitable kind of outcome of a series of events. And I think that's what Nancy and Jonathan felt like in that room, stuck together. It's like they had to have this conversation. The drama has pushed them into a situation where they can't avoid it anymore, and it's perfect and it's great. And so I've seen both of those things in this season, where it's like the inevitable perfect outcome that we've all been waiting for, and the forced, templatized, like, emotional scene that like nobody really needed.
Yeah, it's tricky because with a lot of these characters, what you have is not really a clear arc or like thematic struggle that they're going through, right? And so by introducing Holly, I get the impulse. You have someone who's not been through anything, who is young, who is, kind of like a Will, like an echo of a young Will, who doesn't think very much of herself, and then is on like a journey of self-discovery and courage. And that's a clear arc. Like, I don't care that much about Holly Wheeler either on paper, but like what's going on with her is trackable, which is why I'm just even more mad that she's like back on her tree now. But like, I will say I understand, like, from a writing standpoint, you want scenes to be about a character thing. And like Holly can have a character thing where some of these other characters, like, what are you really going to give Lucas to do? Not very much, right? Like, he had kind of his own little arc in season 4, right? That was last season, where he had his little arc, and now he's just kind of hanging out. And that's fine. He's doing great at that. But the scenes with him are more about Max than they are about him, and that's fine.
Real quick,
Right.
I made a note that his entire character in season 5 was just likes Max.
Likes Max. That's all. That's all he is. Yeah, and they're trying to do it with Dustin. They are, right? They're adding these things in where it's like, he's really mad about Eddie, and this is affecting his relationship with Steve. And like, I like those characters, so you're able to churn some drama out of that dynamic. And I like that the loss of Eddie has repercussions, right? We always talk about how consequences should exist in writing. And so, like, but you are kind of struggling at this point because the plot work of like, Vecna's here, there's an abyss, there's like, this is a bridge, here's the military here, they're pumping pregnant people with Kali's blood to make more numbers. Why would we say it like that? Anyway, it's a wild way to try to say that. But you have so much like plot stuff that you're then kind of just like scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of drama, other than mortal danger, I suppose. So it is tricky, and I sympathize with wanting then to like stuff other stuff into the episodes to kind of, again, make the drama feel like it's occurring. But you have Will. You have this beautiful arc that we were calling out after the first chunk of episodes with Will. And you could take him somewhere in this little group of episodes other than he feels disempowered again now, but he's going to come out to his family and then he's going to come back to the fight. Okay. But again, I'm confused at some of the dramatic choices with the character stuff. It doesn't necessarily feel organic. And of course, 11 is one of the central issues. I think that she's always kind of been an issue for the show because her motivations have always been super unclear, right? She kind of has this Frankenstein's monster thing going on, but it doesn't feel grounded, relatable. It doesn't feel like, I don't know how to relate to Elle. I've never understood remotely how to relate to Elle. Other than like when she wants to be friends with people, right? I'm like, okay, she wants to be friends with people. I get that. But like, am I a weapon? Am I a monster? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. But I'm gonna yell and wipe my nose. And that's what she's gonna do in this show. So they're trying to give her this thing with Callie. But again, I've never felt hooked in to the thematic arc or the character arc of whatever Elle is doing. And so I think it's going to be an interesting dramatic choice at the end when she has to decide whether or not she's going to die, probably, which is what Callie wants her to do. She's died already a couple times, I think, at least once in this show. At the end of
Hopper's
season
died
1.
a couple times. For
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and Hopper too. So they're trying to make it about that again. I get it. It just, I'm not sure that there's any big character or thematic idea that is hooking me currently, other than the lingering love I have for these characters.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think usually plot is designed to force characters along an arc. And so the plot is there to do the character arc and force that to happen. And I think several seasons have done that. Like, I think the most interested I was in Elle was, I believe, season 3, when it's sort of like the kids are becoming teenagers and going to the mall a lot. The plot for that season is pretty bonkers, right? There's like Russians have built a lab like 100 floors beneath the mall. But like it's kind of all there to funnel them through this sort of coming of age thing. And that's kind of really what it's about. And so it's okay that it's sort of jumping the shark in that other corner. At least that's how I felt. And I think this is another challenge of, as you get to the end, is it about the character arcs or is it about the plot? And they're kind of trying to do both. And I think it's impressive that they can have scenes like the Jonathan scene, like the Dustin scene, where the plot has allowed for organic, believable character revelations. But as we've called out, Max and Holly, I think, have been the weakest link kind of this whole season for me. And the Max stop and I'm going to tell you about the character arc you just had scene was for sure pretty rough.
The portals have been shown in the past to be unstable and to go away sometimes.
We need to rush here, everybody.
Wrap up your speech.
I have a quick fix on this Max thing, which is when she wakes up, she tells Lucas that she didn't actually need Kate Bush. Like, she just needed him, right? So they're being chased by the Demodogs. Why? I thought for sure they were going to turn the music off and the portal would start to close, but then she realizes that she has known all along where he is because it's right. The symbols are there. It's all right there. Then it makes sense when she wakes up and she says, no, I've just needed you. But they didn't turn off Kate Bush at all.
Because they needed to end the episode with them running to the music, so they had to do it.
Right.
See, that's part of the social media.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Kind of like self-reinforcing thing. It's like that became such a thing that now we have to end an episode with her running a camera with the music one last time because it's such a thing.
And I do like it. I love people running to that song. I'm not going to lie. I don't know that like that was the problem. I think there's been I think she could have run out to that music again 5 episodes ago. Like, I think it's
Right.
interesting that they've needed Max to be off the board to give Holly something to do. And this is where it does feel like a little bit of a chess game that's happening with the
Yep.
plot of like, we need this person to be over here for this amount of time so that this other thing can happen so that we can explain this thing over there. And so it's really hard, I think, I think why Lost was sort of like, no, it doesn't make sense. We're not going to explain it. We're going to pretend like characters were the things you cared about the whole time. Like, no answers. Ta-da! So, like, I respect them for trying to give answers and explain things maybe more than even I wanted. I don't know that I needed to know that the Upside Down was a portal to the abyss and there's the yellow and the blue and all the things, but like...
And like, does it actually mean something meaningful to like bring the two pancakes together?
It's
like,
apparently very literal because they're going to go up high and they're going to be able to puncture
They're like, wait,
the
it was
sky.
in the sky this whole time? I was like, yeah, it was in the sky.
Well, because I think that was weird about the revelation was, I mean, it's cool. I like wormholes and stuff. That's cool. But then like the outcome, like the thing that Vecna wants to actually do is so literal and doesn't like mean anything. Like to smash the two worlds together, like what does that actually look like? Maybe we'll see. But it was a strange revelation to kind of be both exciting and like, ooh, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean? It's like he just wants to literally smash it down on top of the other one. It's like, okay.
And then he can make a new world vaguely.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I think this is where like I kind of don't have a problem with that because like the world of Stranger Things has always been kind of made up magic monster of the season. Like this time it's like, you know, a big sky thing or it's like creepy goo stuff or whatever to motivate the character arcs and like that being the interesting thing to see the characters do that.
Yeah.
And I do think they're trying to do both and like straining to do it all together in a way that's working enough for me that I'm having a good time, but I think is the reason why I'm also missing that meaty thing that you guys were talking about. The thing that I want from the Stranger Things is character revelation moments, the kids interacting, growing, changing, making choices, and there hasn't been a lot of meaningful that, and definitely not in this second one.
Yeah, I had a moment early on in this volume where Vecna says at the end of volume 1, you know, I chose you because you're weak. I chose all these kids because of how weak-minded they are. And then at the beginning of season, like literally the beginning of volume 2 is him telling them all, you're special. Like, I know you feel underappreciated. You guys are special. You're great. Like, you could change the world. You can do all these things. And I was like, oh, that's how like terrorists are, you know, recruited when they're kids, is just being like, hey, someone who, or like gangs or whatever, like someone who feels lost, feels underappreciated, whatever, but is actually maybe easily manipulatable, is then being told, oh, this is your purpose. Let me show you. And like, that's interesting, right? But like, I don't know. And obviously with where the kids end up at the end of volume 2, like that could be interesting. There could be something there that is done with that. But it just felt like one of those things that was like, hey, look, a theme. And then what, right? Like, I want to see more. I want to see that go somewhere. And does that mean, you know, as you were saying, Trisha, like Holly is kind of our origin story character in this season. And it's like, yeah, but could you actually do that with her? Could you pull off, give us a Holly and then be like, she actually does go to the dark side, maybe not permanently, but enough that it's a major problem. And then we have to contend with that. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot of thematic goo here that is just not being molded into the way that we were maybe hoping it would be.
It's interesting you bring that up because I was struck by how far it went where the kids started chanting something and then they're violently attacking Holly. Like, you know, people are smashing other people's faces. These like young kids falling downstairs. I kind of loved it. It was kind of dark in a kind of you're not supposed to go their way, which I like how Stranger Things in paying homage to the 80s. It's like those PG movies go to places that today's PG movies would not go. And I like that the show does that. But I agree. It's like, oh man, so I wish Holly was on an arc exploring whatever this thing is. I think, Brian, you're identifying it. There's a little bit of a Jim Jones cult thing going on
Right.
here. But yeah, like, is this part of Holly's arc? What is her arc? I don't know. Holly the Brave is her arc, but that's also kind of Will's arc. Anyway, so yeah, I agree. There's a lot of interesting stuff here that isn't quite being like doubled down on and focused on. And I think what we're identifying is also correct, that like instead of funneling down to the core things, there's just so many chess pieces on the board doing different things. And so you don't leave these episodes feeling like, oh man, like, wow, that was crazy. It's just like, whoa, that was a lot. I'm still kind of managing all of that in my head.
I mean, we were talking about this in Wicked for Good when we were discussing that movie, but just that, like, there's this meta feeling of like safety gloves on all the characters, because if all the characters are beloved, then none of them can behave badly, right? And I'm kind of feeling it with this also, where it's like, I actually like in previous seasons where, you know, like I said, in season 4, Lucas is like running around with these like basketball jocks, like basically kind of being a bad dude for a while. And like he ends up, you know, kind of betraying them, but there's a whole arc for him where he's like trying to decide what kind of person he wants to be, and he doesn't want to be a nerd anymore, maybe, and get picked on and run in that crowd. And he's kind of allowed to behave a little bit badly in that. And there are other, you know, points where the first season, one of the coolest things about it is that Steve is like not a nice guy for like a lot of that season. He's behaving badly. And then he ends up coming around, and that's what makes it so interesting. That's what makes him such an interesting character, is that he isn't universally making correct decisions. I actually think there have been points in the series, in this whole show, when Hopper has been my favorite character because he's making dark choices and behaving badly. There's that episode, I think it's in season 1 or 2, where he gets like super drunk and is, you know, causing a scene at the restaurant and selfishly lying to Elle about stuff and just basically being a bad father and not a great boyfriend and all this stuff. Character flaws are compelling. And characters behaving badly is interesting. And the closer you get to the end, the more it feels like characters are not allowed to behave badly. Everyone,
Right.
Dustin is allowed to behave a little badly. Dustin is behaving kind of badly in this chunk of episodes, and so is Steve. And I like that they have him fight it out and then like literally fight it out. I like that, right? I was compelled during that scene because I'm like, neither one of these people is being their best selves, but the truth is coming out. That's great. That's what drama's for. It's for people making bad decisions, and forcing the way that they feel to the surface. And it just feels like that's not going to be happening. I don't know. I don't know. I'm so curious to see if that actually occurs.
And I liked that they used the melty staircase moment to also force the conclusion of that arc, basically, where, you know, Steve's got to risk his life in a way that, in a dumb way, that where he might die, and that pushes, you know, the reality of the feelings to the surface and kind of brings that moment to a really emotional head. I like how that scene was handled, and I think if we want to talk about the coming out scene, which is, you know, people hate for all sorts of, you know, not great reasons, but to me, when I think about how that felt just dramatically and emotionally compared to the end of Volume 1, I was thinking about the fact that, like, you know, if Will is on this journey of kind of coming into his power and he took that first step in Volume 1, like you've been talking about, Trisha, instead of putting him just back to where he started, I think that we could have done something interesting where it's like he is now this new L-level force to be reckoned with, is changing the game. Vecna is forced to like make new moves or take a different strategy in response to Will, and can maybe still have this way of pushing back against Will from taking full control of Vecna because Will still has this secret. And I just think there could have been a way to, I think it's good and makes sense for Will to come out in this final season, if that is this thing that he's been hiding and is coming into his power, is accepting himself and letting go of his fear. But I think it could have been forced and happened in a more dramatic awesome way. Awesome doesn't have to be the word, but like, if there was a moment where he was pushed out of Vecna and is freaking out because Vecna just showed him something, and Joyce is like, "What did he show you? What did you see?" And he explains, "I saw my future where all of you had turned away from me and all my friends had left me and blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "Why would we ever do that?" And then, I don't know, something where it comes out of that drama the way that it did in Volume 1 could have made that be like a coming out scene that is also part of like the Stranger Things story that is happening. And I think I think it's not a bad choice to just have it be like a simple, sweet, gather literally the whole cast together coming out scene. I understand why they did that, and I think they did the best job they could with that direction of the scene. But I think it also, there's a reason why people are reacting badly to it, I think, and not just for dumb reasons, but I think there's also a little bit of a tacked on feeling. Whereas I think when sci-fi or genre stuff can do these kind of real life analogs or allegories, the best is when it's like it's all tied up with the sci-fi drama as opposed to kind of tacked onto the side of it. And I think in theory, it's like he's explaining, I think I have to say this in order to unlock my like powers or whatever, but it's not like happening in the moment. It's not part of a dramatic moment where he has to unlock his powers right now or we're all screwed. And that's what I was missing from that sequence.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the meta of it all is unfortunate, which is like the Duffer Brothers kind of alluded to this pre-season 4, and then all of season 4, I'm kind of waiting for that to be a thing, and it's certainly referenced in subtext in season 4, but then it doesn't land anywhere, and then 3 literal years go by, and then now it's like building. We get the big payoff at the end of volume 1, and then now it's building, and then even then the monologue starts, and it's building. It's like 19 minutes of like, so like I also like Coke, and like whatever. It's just like okay. And then it's like by the time he says the thing out loud, which I appreciate that he does, it just felt like, it took so long to get here, right? And then there's something awkward about the character interactions. Like I said, like no one can kiss, everyone hugs like the actor was sick that day or whatever, and like no one really wants to like hug properly, like no one wants to like grip each other and just it's kind of like and yeah, it's like I love the spirit of that moment, and I was sort of sad that it didn't hit me in the way that I really 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 wanted it to.
It's interesting because I think I think in the version you're describing, Alex, it's like he would be forced to come out,
right?
And I think it is powerful to have him choose, without truth serum, like he's going to like do this thing. So I understand, I appreciate that they kind of contrived a reason for that to happen. And I liked the first half of that scene. I think his performance is really beautiful. Like, I like the monologue. I think it is just where, for me, it was hard because, like, where it sits in the plot, in the chess game of the things moving around, it's like, we think the world's going to end today. Like, there's some urgency here. And so, like, I appreciate that gives weight to this thing. But just the back half of, like, once he says it, like, I don't think you have the time or that this is the right setup to like really explore how meaningful this is to like everyone and their relationships with Will. Like I was a little bit sad that it was like, and now we hug, each of us will hug. And that felt like a little bit of a letdown as like a payoff of that thing. And so, yeah, it's like really hard because I feel like I both appreciate that this show cares to take time to carve out this kind of scene and put the emotional weight on it, which is the kind of thing that I do care about in Stranger Things, but where it sits and the flow of the plot and the stakes does create that tacked on feeling a little bit, like you were saying, Alex. So like we needed to check this box. We did the hell out of it the way we thought we could within the parameters that we've created for ourselves.
Right.
But it's a little bit artificial. And I feel like that's kind of overall how I'm feeling about this season is like, you're doing the hell out of the situation you find yourselves in, but it's all a little bit contrived. I'm still here for it, but it's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I overall just thought, like, again, I'm with you guys. I see the reasons on both sides of why it was done, how it was done. I do think it could have been finessed, though. Like, you know, I think there would have been a way to nuance the tone a little bit. Like, right now it feels really dramatic, very heavy. Even when Will is kind of being awkward and, you know, cracking jokes in the middle of the monologue, it still feel like I'm supposed to be like, oh my God, it's so serious. But I do wonder if there would have been a way to split the difference kind of between maybe what you're suggesting, Alex, which is like in a moment of high action, he has to like bring forth the truth. And what you're talking about, Michael, which is how it is now, that it's like, I'm going to sit everybody down together and just tell him in this quiet, dramatic monologue that doesn't feel rushed or urgent in any way. I think there's a middle ground that actually might have made it a little bit more palatable for people where it's like, I think, first of all, I would have only told, you know, my closest buddies and my mom and my brother. Like, I would have only told 5 people.
Everybody
at
there.
most.
The conference room. Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
Which is also a more accurate. You know, I thought
Sure.
his monologue did get at the truth of the coming out experience, which is like, this is not
Especially
all
at that
I am.
age.
Yeah, it's like, this is
Right.
not all I am. This is actually a very tiny part of what I am. And the thing you're scared about coming out is like, this will be the only thing that I am now
Right.
in everybody else's eyes. So I thought the text of the speech was really insightful in that way. But the delivery of it to a giant audience of people is not accurate to the coming out experience. You know that happens with small groups of people that are very close to you, and so I think that was part of what made it feel awkward and not real, was the cast like photo op in the living room.
Yeah. So there's that, and then there's also like, or if you need to tell multiple people at once, have him sit down to tell his mom and his brother, and then like, well, somebody busts in, and then it's like, oh, what's going on in here? What are you guys talking about? And he's like, well, I'm kind of doing a thing, and you could have like, again, lightened the tone a little bit and still gotten the information to all the people who need to have it, and it could be with some urgency, right, where he's gonna go back in, but he doesn't know if he's gonna make it out, so he wants to like, okay, I'm going in right now. I'm about to like go into the Upside Down. I'm gonna fight Vecna,
Right.
but before I go, I have to say this one thing. And so then it's like right before he goes, and it's like, no, we completely love you. Like, go do your thing. It just again makes it feel like there's more of a propulsion rather than this sort of, I don't want to say it's like saccharine or maudlin sort of tone to this, but it does feel a little bit too weighted. To your point, Brian, like we've built up to it too long.
Right.
Especially when it's not a revelation to us, the audience.
Right.
We know.
Yeah, it feels a little more after school special.
Yep.
And the vibe. And I think your fix is great, Trisha. I think something like that, where if he's about to go in the same way that, you know, Elle is about to go in the tank, the Will equivalent of that. If there's this pressure of like, he knows if he goes in with this on his shoulders, there's a chance that Vecna can screw it up again. And so he needs, I mean, I see what you're saying, Michael, which is like, you don't want it also to be like, I have no choice in the matter. Like, it's more powerful if I have the choice. But I do think if we could have like come out of this scene with the momentum, if it's like, because of the love of his friends and family, he is now immediately going to go into his trance and like fight, that would replicate the kind of volume 1 experience we had. And I think that would be like an escalation of volume 1 versus this de-escalation to like, he does not feel badass anymore. He felt so badass in the volume 1, and he does not feel badass at all.
I love the idea in Trisha's version that like, and everything you guys are saying, we get the real emotional scene that's like beautiful and amazing that we want, but like before he's quite done, then someone comes in and then they're like, what's going on? And he's like, well, all right. And he like has to tell them. And then like 3 more groups of people come in. But then like by the end, it's exactly what you were saying, Alex, which is like, this is a small part of who I am. It doesn't really matter. Where it's like, now he's had to just kind of say it so many times. So in the course of 5 minutes, it's become a non-issue for like other people to hear it and for him to say it out loud, it could be like funny and fun and also actually do the thematic thing of being like, this doesn't really matter, but I need to like say it. Like, it doesn't matter in the sense of this is not who I am, but this is something I need to share and I need to get out. I also had the idea of like almost the opposite of all of this, which was like, I don't know. I don't really know because the show doesn't tell me to what extent other people have suspected this. Right.
Right.
And there's a decent sense that they have. So I almost wanted that monologue to be, I don't like girls happens 5 sentences in. And then
Right.
the rest of the monologue happens. So it feels like it's sort of like, this is what we've been building towards. Let's get it out there. Now let's say all the other things I want to say. And then that builds towards something, you know, some sort of dramatic finish that then propels us into the next bit.
I think it's a really interesting, that's another fix I really like, Brian. Saying the I don't like girls part earlier, it feels a little bit, it's I like the way that it was built because it was saying, I like this, I like this, I like this. I just don't like this one thing. That's the one thing. So I get why they did it that way, but I do think it felt kind of silly and like goofy as like the big thing at the end of that whole thing. And it's a big deal for him, obviously, coming out. But as you said, Trisha, it's not news to us. And I think if there could have been a different version of it where, early he says the thing and then is trying to rapidly go into like, but don't think differently of me because I still like this, whatever. And ending with that idea of, and I'm just so scared to tell you guys this because, Vecna showed me this future where because I'm different, you all turn away from me. And then it ends with a hug. Like, I think you could have rearranged that and have the very similar scene, but without the slight cringe of the huge build up to, I don't like girls.
Yeah.
Good workshop, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a hard scene to do. I was almost wondering if you could do like a crosscut because they're good at crosscut things. I'm like,
they are.
telling lots of people, but like cutting between intimate moments with lots of people, but it's the same kind of monologue spread across. Anyway,
I like that
also
idea.
like, why does everybody have to know? I think
that's what I was about to say.
The other thing is like, does the teacher have to know? Like, what if it's just like the core, like the core, like the core guys and like his mom, like I don't know, like that, and all, like who, like does everybody need to know all at once? Like, or is it more of like I've said this thing out loud to the few people who matter to me most, and everybody else will find out soon, and I don't care anymore. Like the people who I care about, who I'm worried will like leave me, like have been told that fear has been addressed. I don't think he needs to tell everybody before the show ends.
Also, if it's the whole point, like you're saying, is this is not the one and only thing that defines me, then like people not knowing and that making no difference to the finale of the show is also powerful in its own way.
Like, who actually has to know? Like, I think it could be just his core friends, and it's more about him getting, realizing the fear was unfounded, that they would all turn away from him.
Right.
Yeah, well, and I think all of this is sort of tapping into the thing that media has been struggling with for a decade or more now is the meta meaning versus the story logic, right? Maybe the story logic means there isn't a perfectly empowering, non-problematic version of the scene that fits and makes the plot propulsive, but like can't. Like that has problems too, which we have identified. Like we can't do that, and like there are problems like with both ways. And so I think that's what's fascinating to me about Stranger Things season 5 so far is like seeing them wrestle with this moment in time, this moment in culture. Stranger Things has its own like meta baggage. Like I think it's a really tough lift that they're doing, and overall, I'm pretty impressed that I'm enjoying it and like still along for the ride. It is definitely bumpy, but I don't know. I think they're doing pretty good.
I'm excited for the finale.
Well, let's talk about what do we want to see for the finale. Trisha, tell me what you want to see in the finale. What do you expect?
I don't care. Just show it to me. I don't know. I don't. I want there to be a real cost exacted of all of this trauma, violence, darkness, And it doesn't need to be deaths. If you don't want to kill anybody, that's okay. It starts to strain credulity a little that everybody could make it out. All the people that have names could make it out of here, whereas all of these soldiers who keep getting eaten by demodogs cannot. But like, story logic aside, if you don't want to kill any of your characters, I don't think you necessarily have to. But there has to be cost of some kind. Otherwise, it's not drama, right? Otherwise, it's cheap writing narratively. So the cost has to be exacted, whether that's in blood or sacrifice or, a loss of ideals or beliefs or whatever it is. There has to be a cost. And I just want to make sure that, because otherwise it's just nothing. It's just a big nothing if you don't have a cost. I was thinking about the first season where they find Will's body in the quarry. And like, Will is not dead. And we come to know that pretty early. But what that does for the series is we feel the weight of the loss of a child. Like, and I'm sure that, Hopper's dead daughter will be back. I'm sure we'll see her in a flashback again. But those were the things that made Stranger Things feel like it meant something, where there was real cost going on in the lives of the characters. And I just missed that feeling where there's something material that has to be sacrificed in order for the victory to come. Because that's what stories are. Damn it. So that's what I would like. I would like there to be a cost. And yeah, if we can make a few character deaths happen, and if we can make them mean something without them feeling overwrought, that'd be great. But if it can't be that, I guess, then it should be something.
I might piggyback on that because my concern, I agree, and that's what I wanted Volume 2 to be. Is like, here is the cost. This is the Empire Strikes Back. This is the downbeat.
Definitely.
This is the like,
Yeah.
oh man, okay, this is the cost we have to pay, and now we can get on to, ride our ship into glory or whatever the hell's going to happen in the finale. I'm worried now that it's too late to exact cost.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That
You might be right.
trying to pay that cost now is going to feel forced. And so now I'm almost like, just wrap it up with a pretty bow and have fun. Like, show me some fireworks. I don't like people dying right now. I think will make me mad. Like, why now did they have to, like, what's it going to be for now? I don't care about the yellow zone touching the reality zone. Like, dying for Vecna doesn't mean anything. And I feel like all the other storylines have kind of wrapped up. So I very much agree. And that's what I expected from Volume 2. And yeah, I just make the ending not traumatic for me is kind of how I feel right now.
At the end of the first episode where Nancy shoots the orb and then they're like lying on the floor and they're melting into the floor, I was like, oh, okay.
And
all
Dustin's like, don't do it. We're all
Don't shoot it.
going
We're
to
all
die.
gonna
And I was like,
die.
okay, cool. Here we go.
I was so ready. And then no one.
And then that was one of the walkbacks. As
walked
you've
it
come.
right back.
Yeah. Alex, what are you wanting and expecting?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys, or with you, Michael, where at this point, now it's just kind of annoying if somebody dies almost. Like really important people die randomly. I don't want that. It needs to be really meaningful if it happens. And I think what I'm getting at there is that I want characters to make really great choices in the finale. I want things to come to a head that feel inevitable and force our core characters to make really compelling choices that are impossible choices, and the thrill of watching somebody have to make that choice. So I do think they're setting us up for that very openly with Elle, but I hope other characters are forced into that choice moment. And I think, I agree with Trisha that I think that there should be some cost, and it could be the Lord of the Rings cost, where none of the main Fellowship die except for Boromir in the first movie. But Frodo is never the same again and can't go back to the Shire really because of what he's been through is too traumatic. And so I do hope that I want a happy ending for this show. I mean, I do want that blockbuster happy ending ultimately, but I do want there to be real, real emotional stakes and characters have changed irrevocably and choices have been made that are real choices, not easy choices.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I liked about the Natalie Dyer and Charlie Wheaton. What are their characters?
Why do we both forget their names?
Nancy and Jonathan.
Nancy and Jonathan.
Good grief.
So why do you know their real names so
Yeah,
well?
that's
I know it's
wild.
weird, like weirdly those actors. But I feel like that felt sort of like a Frodo was changed arc resolution of like, it's not that we don't love each other, we do, but we're not in love. Like, we're not going to get married. Like, that felt like a meaningful, mature, closing of a coming of age, figuring out identity. Like, I feel like identity is kind of one of the themes that's swimming around in here. And to your point, Trisha, wish they could hold on to it a little bit more firmer. But I like that about that scene, and I just worry, like, what other big choices are left? Like, what other character arcs are left open? And that's another reason why I'm like, I don't know. But that would be nice. I want the same thing. Brian, what do you want? What do you expect?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of everything you guys are saying is like, one, this isn't going to happen 100% at all, but one, I want Volume 2 to feel better in retrospect after we've seen Volume 3. We a lot of times when we talk about a show episode by episode, there are these moments of like, how do you feel about this episode? I don't know yet. Ask me next week, right? I need to know what this episode was doing in the bigger picture to know whether it was worth this sort of dip that we had to take. With 3 episodes before a single finale, like, probably that's not going to happen, but I wouldn't mind if in the bigger picture I went, okay, I see why X, Y, and Z had to happen the way it happened, right? And yeah, I don't want, this is kind of everything you guys were getting at. It's like just I don't want things to be too obvious. It's almost like at this point, if no one dies, that's annoying. If someone dies, that's annoying. Like, it's just kind of like, I want something that feels exciting and different, and not, hey, here's a brand new Left Side Over place that like you didn't know about until right now that is plaid, and it's just like, no, we wrap it up. Let's go. let's finish this up. But you see all these memes that's like the last thing Steve will say before he sacrifices himself, and it's like he turns and looks at camera and says, for Frodo, and then like runs it, like whatever, where it's just like, yeah, there is this feeling now, as you were saying, Alex, like the Stranger Things template of just, this is the way this thing happens. And I don't want the finale to be like, look at all these things that the show has done. It's just them now, but with new characters or new whatever. And if all of that is done in, at least at a somewhat reasonable level, then I think the last thing I want is I'm not talking about like things I want to happen. I'm talking about like feelings I want to have, basically, is like that. I'm glad this was all worth it. Like that kind of feeling, I think sometimes, I forget what it was, something recent. I don't know if it was a video game or something, where kind of got like annoyed by just like the tedium along the way of like, all right, I'm ready for this to be over. We're doing this. And then like the ending was so good that I was like, like as the credits were rolling, I was like, I'm so glad I came here, and I think there's no doubt in my mind, I'm going to be very like happy. I'm just going to have like a nice, like, warm Stranger Things belly at the end of Volume 3, in the sense of just like, Stranger Things was cool, wasn't it? Like, isn't it cool that like this thing existed and we had it? That's great. But I would like to feel it in a way that feels like it was earned by Volume 3 and not just earned by Stranger Things in general, and just that feeling of inevitably you're saying goodbye to something, so you're gonna feel some emotions.
Yeah.
I do think the Duffer Brothers are saving a lot for this final 2-hour plus finale, and I have high hopes that they are going to stick the landing.
Yeah,
we shall see.
It's just not that much time. Really, what I expect is that
so sorry. Weird thing. Yeah. Like I want to. My friend and I were talking about this after we watched Volume 2. Is like, we're like, oh, 2 hours. That's not enough time, and it's like, entire movies are 2 hours.
Right.
Entire movies that introduce new characters and tell you who they are and tell you what their problem is, and then create conflict and everything, and then resolve all of it, and then leave you feeling like you watched an entire life story, are 2 hours. Also, they don't have 25 established characters though, and like all this like complicated junk that's just there that then they have to kind of all. So that's the weird thing. It's like 2 hours is either a lot of time or no time, depending
Right.
on which way you look at it.
Right.
Yeah.
It should be plenty of time, but like there's all the kids that are plugged into the tree.
So many kids.
Right.
There's so many. What's wrong with 4? Because they did 4, I guess, in the last season. So right, where he was
Right.
like, gotta kill 4 people and then split the earth in 4, and then so I guess now we have to do 3 times as many. That's crazy.
There's some significance with 12, like it's the number after 11. Is there some meaning somewhere in there or something?
Disciples.
I just
Yeah.
hope that they turn to camera and start speaking German, and this is like a backdoor, like
It's all dark.
connection
It's
to
dark. It's dark. It's
Oh
dark.
yeah.
I've heard the internet about that.
Yeah. I mean, there are some pretty dark things in here. Cool. All right. Well, we're gonna find out very soon. It's coming in hot, and we're gonna talk about it. Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be interesting. Until then, what else have you guys been watching? Brian, what have you been watching recently?
I saw Rental Family, the movie with Brendan Fraser as just like a Brendan Fraser actor out of work in Japan and gets hired by a rental family company, which is a real thing in Japan, where they like hire people to like be a stand-in for your dad so you have someone to hug, or in some cases make other people think that you,
Alex's
Go
face as you were saying
Yeah.
that. This is the saddest. Okay.
or in some cases, like the first act of this movie does a really beautiful, we're going to make some people think that is who this person is, so that another thing can happen that you are very much rooting for when you realize what it is. And then if you see the trailer, you're like, oh, then he meets a lot of people who have issues and he starts being, developing relationships with them and et cetera, et cetera. And isn't that cute? And surprisingly, the movie is like so good at what it does that it feels like it's doing the best possible version of something that could be really schmaltzy and really hallmarky, in a way where I was constantly being like, I'm 90% sure I know what this next plot point is. And then it was, but it was done in a way that just made me go, oh, that was cool. I wasn't really expecting that. And I think like my partner and I, after like driving home from the theater, we just kept saying like, yeah, I knew that was coming, but I didn't know it was going to come like that. Like I didn't know it was going to do this thing. And it was ultimately just like a really lovely, like I was thinking of Coda or something where it's like it's not doing anything really groundbreaking, but it's doing it in such a perfect way that it just feels really lovely. And I feel like I don't know how much recognition, or that movie just might be like a very under the radar movie. So I kind of wanted to shout it out that if you get a chance, I think it is the movie you would guess it is by the trailer, but it's just like a really damn good version of it.
Nice. I feel like that's great when that happens.
Yeah.
Awesome. Trisha, what have you been watching recently?
Yeah, Christmas is over. But I realized that I haven't even mentioned that I wrote a movie.
Yes.
That you can also watch this holiday season. I think you have a couple days left before they legally take away your right to watch Christmas movies for the year. I wrote a movie called A Heart Full of Hope that came out about a month ago, and you can stream it. It's on Prime. It's on Tubi. If you can stomach the ads, you can watch it there for free on Tubi. And I wrote a movie last year called The Christmas Chain. And this film, A Heart Full of Hope, was produced in partnership with this foundation who raises awareness around living kidney donation. And so, like the movie I wrote last year, this Christmas feature has a kidney donation plotline, and it is also heartwarming holiday magic. So you can check it out. I have had the opportunity to show it to a number of family and friends of mine. It's hard to watch your own movie and over again. It's just what I want to say about that. It's really cringe and embarrassing in a number of ways, because when you've written a movie, all you can see is like little things where like, I cut my favorite joke and stuff like that. Which is fine, right? Like, so, but you get really myopic about stuff like that, and then you're watching it with your mom and she's crying and you're just like, yeah. But yeah, it's that. So if you have a few days left in your holiday viewing and you want to squeeze it in, you can check out my little film, which is called A Heart Full of Hope.
Beautiful. Love it. Alex, what have you been watching?
So I went to the Americana on brand, to the AMC theater. I
Okay.
put on some Dolby 3D glasses.
Oh
And
no.
I stepped back into the world of Pandora, baby.
Oh my
Avatar,
God.
Fire and Ash.
You really did?
3 hours and 17 minutes.
Holy
my
hell,
God.
Alex.
It was
Can I-
exactly what you think it is.
Before I say anything, I want to say I've heard exactly one thing about this movie, which is that it's just a retread of 2 so much that it's being called Avatar 3: Avatar 2.
Whoa.
It is wild how many kind of plot beats, and even like the finale feels very similar. Like they're like family gets like kidnapped onto a big boat, and like the boat is sinking again, like at the end.
Wow.
It's just the wild Avatar experience of both. Like, am I hallucinating because these teenage Avatar kids are saying "bro" so frequently? Like, I
Wow.
can't stand it. Spider is
I
like
forgot about
real.
Spider.
Still here.
Spider is like the focus, man. He's like the focus
Oh
of this
my
movie.
God.
It's like all about Spider, and it's like the fight for Spider. And then there are some like amazing sequences where it's like this is an epically, amazingly staged sequence that looks really cool and is involving this gravity well thing that is ripping these ships apart, and the visual effects look amazing. So it's that weird thing where on the one hand, this dialogue is insane. I can't believe like these people are saying these lines right now. But right now, this visual is amazing. And like, how is this all CG? And like, how does the 3D feel so good and so like cool right now? So it was just, it's the Avatar experience again. And it was bizarre how many moments were kind of just like, oh yeah, that's like the last movie, I think. But I was, I definitely preferred the previous film, Way of Water. I think there was it wasn't simple, but there was a bit more of a focus in that movie, with the whales and the whale plot. Like in this
Which
one,
doesn't come in until halfway through that movie. I want to be super clear.
Sure,
like the whole
but-
movie occurs before we even get to the whales.
Right.
Sure, but at least once they get to the whales, it's like that's the resource they're after, and like the finale is about like saving the whales. This one is like the whales are still there. There's still a problem for the whales. There's still like an outcast whale that still has a problem there. But now there's a fire tribe, and like they're kind of teaming up with the bad guys, and like so it's like everything from Way of Water is still happening and hasn't been resolved, but it has less screen time because there's all the new stuff. So it's just like Way of Water plus 10 other things all crammed together. So the emotional impact was not there for me in the same way it was when I was like crying for the whales in the last movie. Anyway, wild movie. I like didn't not enjoy myself, but it was just that mind-blowing experience of so much spider and so many lines of dialogue that are so wild.
So much spider.
And just the visuals of Quaritch, the bad guy Quaritch Avatar is just like such a main part of the movie, and he has like the hots for the new Fire Lady.
Do you also were you also surprised and confused about how attracted you were to Varang? Because that's all the internet seems to be saying.
I mean, there's a lot of Na'vi like kind of nudity in this movie. I mean, there always kind of has been because they're just kind of naked. But I feel like they really push towards like, no, but there's like really naked people in this movie.
Now they have nipples.
Blue people. Yeah.
Oh, God bless you for doing that, Alex.
It's just so wild. It's so wild.
Cool.
I would like to also have seen it in the past.
In the past.
It's that kind of thing where it's like, I don't regret seeing it, but I almost do. I definitely didn't regret seeing Way of Water. Like I really actually enjoyed seeing Way of Water in IMAX 3D with you guys. I almost regret seeing this one. Almost.
One day I'll watch select sequences in the comfort of my own home.
So that's the weird thing. Like, part of me is like, if I don't see it I don't want to, but if I don't see it in the theater in IMAX with like 3D glasses,
what's the point?
Then why would I ever watch it? Do you know what I mean? It's like, why would I ever subject myself to like objectively much worse way to see that movie?
Because I will say, like, a lot of the pleasure I got from it was just like this visual in 3D is very good. Like I'm really enjoying watching this 3D object rendered with such clarity and beauty. So
Right.
like
I mean,
that's kind of like the
Way of
whole
Water
thing.
was basically a 3-hour tech demo in my
Yeah.
brain. So
Mhm.
And there's really impressive tech demo stuff in this movie that's pushing
Right.
things even further. Yeah.
I don't want a tech demo. I don't want to like listen to a tech demo. Do you know what I mean? I want to see it as it like was like
Yeah.
meant to be presented to me.
in this case, I'll listen to the tech demo, and I can
Yeah.
imagine how cool it is from there.
What it would be like. Yeah.
I'm gonna skip it.
So
But
what
then
I
you'll be so
watched
confused when
recently-
4 happens. Hey, Michael, what have you been watching?
So this is like a quick 2-parter. I watched A House of Dynamite, kind of on your recommendation, Alex, and I've
Mm.
heard about stuff and like, oh, it's so stressful and all this stuff. And I watched it and I was like actually really disappointed and not that stressed and found it kind of like comical and like pretty not great and like very underwhelming. But part of the reason I think is because like the day or two before I finally watched Crimson Tide, which is
Uh-huh.
like so cool. Like it was one of the submarine movies that I'd never seen. And it's a similar kind of setup. It's this Cold War thing. So it's like Denzel and what's his name?
Gandolfini?
No, the other guy from Enemy of the State. Oh my God, it's right there on my
Gene
screen.
Hackman.
Where it's Gene Hackman. Thank you. So it's Denzel and Gene Hackman, and like Denzel's the new XO, and like he doesn't get along with Gene Hackman because Gene Hackman is like killing people is cool. We should do more war, and Denzel's like maybe not. And then they were like on a nuclear sub, and then like there's a civil war in Russia, and like some crazy extremist gets control of the nuclear missiles. And so maybe there's a nuclear missile like about to so they get the orders where they have to launch a first strike, but then there are orders saying like, no, don't, but those get cut off. So they don't know for sure if they're good. Anyway, it was very
Wait, I haven't seen this
stressful.
movie, so don't say too much more
This is
because
all
I
just
want to
like a
watch it.
setup. Yeah,
Okay.
I won't say
Yeah.
anymore.
All right.
But it's
Also,
a
I've
very-
been real quick. I've been like spending a lot of the last week with a lot of 5 to 9-year-olds, and like what you just did there was adorable.
and
then they're in a nuclear sub,
and then
we should talk about this movie. This
it's
sounds
really
pretty
yeah.
good.
Ooh, yeah.
It's so fun. So yeah, just the setup is great. It's a classic movie. It could be like a stage play almost because it is this
Mhm.
contained in a sub and like the pressure of that just like builds and builds. And that was amazing. So highly recommend Crimson Tide. It's very
Top
good.
5 submarine movie, probably.
So good. We should
Stay
do
tuned for
submarine.
Submarine Spring.
There we go.
Trisha's seen them all.
Don't even tease me
Don't
about
tease her like this.
this.
Amazing. Okay. Well, this has been our conversation about Stranger Things, Season 5, Volume 2. We want to say a big thank you, as always, to the patrons that make this show possible. If you want to help us make more episodes, head over to the Beyond the Screenplay Patreon. The link is in the show notes. It also gives you a discount on Trisha's awesome coverage service. Again, win-win-win for everybody. Thank you to our producer, Vince Major. I'm Michael Tucker. I've been joined today by Trisha Rand, Brian Bittner, and Alex Coyotes, and we will see you very soon in our episode talking about the finale of Stranger Things, Season 5, Volume 3.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.